So if you could just tell the jury.
Yeah, he's telling us right now where, as he's getting in his car and what he's fixing to do. He wants to drive out, and he's angling to the left in the direction that they went. And he's saying right around here is where Mr. Arbery pops up. So he's backing up because it surprises him. Doesn't back in quite enough to where when he makes the turn, he's getting close. He says he's about to hit his mailbox, and Mr. Arbery is down in the ditch. And they're running, he's running somewhat parallel to the vehicle, to his vehicle.
Okay, so I'm going to pause.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the ditch in the
Yes,
video?
ma'am, I can.
Can you step down?
I
Please,
can.
just briefly? And don't touch the screen because bad things will happen.
Okay.
But if you can just point to the general direction, there's a pointer right there to your right if you want to use that.
And don't touch the screen.
Don't touch the screen.
You can see the ditch right through here. That's almost like a little, I think that's, might be a little footbridge right there over it.
Okay.
And the ditch is running right through here.
Okay, thank you. Have a seat. Let me know when you're ready. Good?
I'm ready.
Okay.
He's explaining that Mr. Arbery is down in the ditch, maybe not quite in the water, but he's down that ditch that way. He's going to start coming up and still kind of running parallel. They're coming up to a tree right here where you can see a sign. I think it's maybe a realtor sign. As they're coming up, he's expecting Mr. Arbery to go maybe around the tree, the other direction, but he ends up coming, sorry, not this tree, this next tree. He's coming up, he's thinking Mr. Arbery is going to go to the left of the tree, but Mr. Arbery actually goes to the right of the tree, so they're right there close to each other at this tree right here. So Mr. Arbery is between the tree on his left and his truck on the right. As they come up, he pushes ahead at this point. He gets ahead of Mr. Arbery, and as he comes into this driveway, he actually angles off, and that's where he was trying to stop his movement. He was trying.
Okay, sorry. Now, in this actual reenactment, did Mr. Bryan ever say that at this point he tried to corner Mr. Arbery?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Did he say he tried to block him?
He did not.
Okay.
He is angling off into Mr. Arbery's direction and Mr. Arbery's path of travel. At this point, he says his window's down. He realizes that he's put himself in a bad position, and he starts to back up. And it's somewhere in that time frame where the contact is made between Mr. Arbery and the vehicle. Whether or not Mr. Arbery is reaching for the door handle or whether he's just touching the truck, that's where the contact is made. And Mr. Bryan said he was worried at this point, so he put the vehicle in drive, and that's when he took off ahead of Mr. Arbery again. Here he's turning off of Burford onto Satilla Shores, or Satilla Drive.
Okay, so is that this road right here?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay.
We've just passed Holmes Road, and he, at this point, stops, backs up as Mr. Arbery makes the turn down Holmes Road. At this point, Mr. Arbery is ahead, and Mr. Bryan is essentially chasing Mr. Arbery down Holmes Road.
Is this Holmes Road right here?
Yes, ma'am. As we get down the road here, you're going to see I think you'll be able to see a brightly colored mailbox. I believe at the time it was blue. And that was an important marker because that was where the video that he took on February 23rd began. you could see the actual brightly colored mailbox.
Okay.
So it was
Are we able to see the mailbox right now?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it this one right here?
Through my dirty windshield, yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay.
So we paused. He confirms he's on the left side of the road at that time when the video starts. You actually see at this point in the video, and that's what we're talking about, is you see Mr. Arbery, I think he was briefly running away and then comes running back towards Mr. Bryan in the video. Mr. Bryan believed that Mr. Arbery ran down his passenger side, I believe.
Okay, so at this point, is Mr. Bryan still driving on the wrong side of the road?
Yes, ma'am. We're discussing just different angles and where things were coming and going, and referencing back to the actual video that he took in February. He's told me somewhere at that point, after Mr. Arbery passed him, that he had gotten back over onto the right side of the road. Now, during this portion of the actual video on the day of the incident in February, he had dropped the phone, so or put it on his lap, I think was what it was. So he's telling us what happened here, and he's saying how he went down a little bit farther. Now, the mailbox you see right there on the right side with the driveway, that's actually another marker that we can kind of identify from the actual video on the day of the incident.
Which one?
Yep, right there to the right.
Okay.
That black mailbox and driveway is something it looks like fresher concrete. You can just tell with the, I guess the landscaping, kind of you can identify it in the video. He drives past that, and at some point he decides to turn around and basically does like a three-point turn where he's talking about on the video, you can hear maybe his tires trying to catch on gravel, and he's showing me where one of two spots he likely, pulled over to the left, backed in, and then pulled back out to the left to go back the direction that Mr. Arbery came, back to the intersection of Holmes Road and Satilla Drive.
So at this point, where is Mr. Arbery?
Mr.
Which
Arbery
direction?
is going to be, well, if you're looking at it from my truck, he's going to be to the left, which is close to the intersection of where the incident occurred, basically.
So going back towards the intersection?
That's correct. And here, if we pause right here, this is where we know that the video where he picked up at because of that driveway. And in the video we're talking about, you can see the curve of the road and trying to figure out, where he was in the road. He says he's kind of center of the road. We're going around, and at which point he actually sees Mr. Arbery. And we're determining where it was that he stopped at when he actually finally stopped and finished taking the video. We're inching up to the spot where he thinks he was. If you see the stop sign there, you can see the intersection. That's the intersection of where the incident occurred.
Okay. And does he essentially stop?
Yes, ma'am.
Right there?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Agent Seacrist, throughout that entire reenactment video with Mr. Bryan, did he ever once say that he tried to angle at Mr. Arbery?
I don't recall him saying angle at Mr. Arbery, no.
Okay. Did he ever say that he tried to block Mr. Arbery in?
No, ma'am.
That he tried to corner him at any time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so none of that was said on that video?
That's correct.